First of all, allow me to extend my warmest welcome to the board directors of the Credit Bureau Cambodia and all delegates in this conference. As its name suggests, this is the first event of its kind to be organized by the CBC since it first launched a year ago. This event would serve as an important platform for all stakeholders to meet, discuss, and share views on the Credit Bureau, such as its services, potentials, and benefits. Cambodia Credit Bureau is a new business for Cambodia and has been operated for just 1 year. Although this project started many years ago, it was an important journey, and it is only with thanks to the dedication and commitment of all stakeholders today that I can stand in front of you and congratulate everyone on a job well done. Looking forward to our national prospects for 2013 and our future are incredibly positive. The GDP growth is expected to continue to grow. We are likely expecting that the majority of this growth will be driven by a vibrant private sector, mainly in the service sectors of trade, real estate, construction, and of course, banking. I must acknowledge that CBC has in part facilitated this growth in the past 12 months. When potential business, donors, and foreign investors can see that Cambodia as a nation is serious about ensuring transparency within its credit environment, we become a much stronger, more compelling, and safer investment destination. More so, when the same investors and global partners can see that Cambodia has implemented a modern, state-of-the-art credit bureau in just 12 months, it further increased confidence in the stability and the confidence in the capability of the Cambodian financial sector as a whole. That is not to say, of course, that the hard work is over. When it comes to the process of strengthening our economic reputation and building strong trust relationships, of course, there is never such a thing as a mission accomplished. In Cambodia, our banking sector's governance and transparency has been greatly improved. Thanks in part to sound corporate governance, our banking institutions, not to mention those of us in the National Bank of Cambodia, and the regulatory roles that push to improve reporting and sector transparency. It is this commitment to a responsible approach for our long-term sustainable economic development that caused us to establish the CBC, and it is this commitment to sustainability and responsibility business that will drive us forward during the years to come. Cambodia Credit Bureau implementation has been held up as an example of a timely, thorough, and well-executed implementation of a centralized credit reporting system. In short, our banking sector in Cambodia must be compliant, it must be transparent, it must be sustainable, and it must be trustworthy if we are truly going to grow to our full potential while adapting to a global stage in the sector as a whole. Vigilant oversight of our banking sector regulatory regime can only help improve physical credentials while serving to better prepare the country's lenders for regional integration and expansion on an ASEAN and global stage.
Good morning, Your Excellency, Deputy Governor of the National Bank of Cambodia, Madam Newt Chantana, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am truly very pleased to be here for the first annual anniversary of the Credit Bureau in Cambodia. Inadequate access to financial services represents one of the the most important constraints to economic development in emerging markets. And in particular for rural, self-employed and small and medium-sized enterprises, a lack of access to financial services basically presents growth or prevents growth. And much of the population in emerging markets is actually in the informal sector, not the formal sector. And for most countries, typically the informal sector accounts for some 90% of employment. So you can see that the ability to stimulate this sector would have a profound effect on national development and gross national product. If you can educate people to understand how their credit file works and how a credit history works, we have demonstrated that it changes consumer behavior. Once they understand the concept of credit reporting, customers typically repay much better, and in turn they get access to better, cheaper quality services. And access to a complete history of credit commitments allows lenders to better calculate and debt service ratios and the like, and make better decisions. And hopefully, if you use the information wisely, you avoid getting into a position where you have too many over-indebted customers. You probably don't realize how complicated it is to build a credit bureau. It's not just the deployment of some technology. It's not just hardware or software. There's a lot of work that goes on in the background to bring people together within a sharing community. The major task is to get everybody on board, banks, lenders, central bank, and so forth. And this usually requires a lot of work in IT departments, in procurement departments, and a lot of work behind the scenes that nobody actually ever gets to see. Now, I'm sure that others, I'm sure in Gary's presentation, he will mention statistics and volumetrics and tell you how many searches, inquiries they've done and how many customers they have on the database. But this really hides the hard yards in terms of what it takes to build a credit bureau. And making your first birthday in credit reporting and having a functional credit bureau within 12 months really truly is a creditable performance. I've never seen it done quite this well and quite this quickly anywhere else.
How do you follow that? It's with my great pleasure that I welcome you here to our first anniversary. It's a first anniversary business briefing update for the Credit Bureau of Cambodia. As my esteemed colleagues have said in their previous addresses, the National Bank of Cambodia and IFC have explained today that we have achieved a significant amount of work in a very short time frame, and that's thanks to the efforts of everyone in this room today and a lot of other people behind the scenes. When I look back on our journey to date, I find it hard to believe that we've achieved so much in such a short period of time. Just over a year ago, in fact, probably 14 months ago, I stood in front of most people here in the Cambodian economy trying to explain what a credit bureau was, why we even need the credit bureau in Cambodia. Now, 12 months later, it should be clear to all of you in this room how a credit bureau impacts the Cambodian economy and the banking sector. Of course, this journey has not been a simple one. Well over 1,000 people have had to come together and agree that we would be successful in our mission before we began. Over the past 12 months, there have been hundreds of people involved in the project, from lawmakers in the government, regulators at the National Bank, all the way to technical teams in foreign countries and in Cambodia, implementing the software, the solutions, the systems, the training teams that have tirelessly worked and trained thousands of operators. With the Credit Bureau comes more responsible lending, faster processing, easier access to finance for all. It is with the credit to everyone here that we've managed to make that happen. We've made that a reality for the Cambodian economy in a very short time frame. Recently, in a World Bank report, the Kingdom of Cambodia increased its ranking position on the world stage dramatically. It jumped by about 45 places. This was due, at least in part, to the implementation of the Credit Bureau. What is more is that since this report, a number of donor organisations that we talk to on a weekly basis has increased as a number of non-performing loans in the economy has started to decrease. To show you what I mean, we have a graph of the number of credit inquiries run over the past 12-month period. We've increased from 7,000 a month in 2012 to 158,000 a month in 2013. Present figures show that we're averaging in excess of 11,000 credit reports a day. The MFI sector obviously pays a much less of a price for a credit report because of the people that it serves. And this was primarily positioned so that we could ensure that the smaller value loans could be serviced appropriately without impacting on the person themselves. We believe that we still have the lowest price credit reports in the industry on a global basis. Cambodia certainly has volume in the MFI sector. Over the past 12 months, the Credit Bureau has generated in excess of 1.3 million credit reports for the MFI sector alone. Of course, in the banking sector, it continues to grow. In the past 12 months, the volume of credit report requests from the banking organisations has increased from 5,300 a month at the start of 2012 to over 30,800 a month by the end of February 2013. What we're seeing is vibrance in both sectors. All of these activities and future plans will of course help us to fulfil the vision of the National Bank of Cambodia of a compliant lending infrastructure. And as credit reports become a portable collateral for the consumer, that means easier access to a more competitive finance market. I've personally been delighted to see the first number of unsecured loans being offered to people based on their credit record alone, their ability to repay. We had an economy that was 100% collateralized. We are now seeing changes very, very rapidly. Now we have to think about how we communicate this to the people in Cambodia. When we launched the Bureau in 2012, much of our focus was on announcing the presence of the Bureau and the changes in the law. In 2013, our communications will focus more on awareness of the Credit Bureau and its role in our economy. Of course, it's a fact that the average consumer does not connect very well with the banking jargon or complex credit information. So in 2013, the CBC will be sponsoring a number of high-profile social campaigns that benefit our society with the dual function of acting in a socially responsible way, whilst at the same time increasing awareness with Cambodian consumers. This, of course, is all good news. The Credit Bureau is running, and running well. We'll continue to expand our product offerings and our education over the next 12 months. We'll also be increasing our awareness in Cambodia by sponsoring, supporting a number of good causes that actually improve the lives of people. And as the last speaker for today, again, I'd like to reiterate that this is a team effort. Team effort including everyone's effort in this room. An effort that everyone should be applauded for and be very, very proud of.